What's going on, everybody? Ian Walsh here, Hard Money Bankers, joined with my partner, Ryan Walsh, Hard Money Bankers. Oh, is that a New York Giants hoodie?
Yep.
What do you got to say? What do you have to say about that?
We're going for our draft picks. We're gonna get a great draft pick. That's what I have to say about that.
I would say you'll win that. Yeah, you'll probably win that. Do you watch the Peyton and Eli show on Monday night?
No, my wife doesn't like it. She finds it too distracting while we're watching it, but it does look very entertaining.
It is entertaining. It is good, and they had Jon Stewart on last night, who is a huge Giants fan, and obviously have Eli, so he had to sit there and tell you like why everything was going to work out, and everybody's like, yeah, that's not. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. So I enjoy it. The what do we got today in the markets, right? What's going on?
A whole lot of nothing. It's kind of just sideways. It's I can't even say it's up a little. It's just basically continuing from tomorrow. So it's just a sideways doji from what you got there.
Yeah. Do we have any kind of we have elections today, right? So that's kind of the sit and wait kind of moment right now.
Yeah, over the next couple of days, because I think like California has a couple tomorrow. So it just depends on your state, but it's all this week.
Gotcha. Is it and then what, do we all find them all out by Friday? Is that kind of how we're doing this?
That would be my guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to get much action just in general this week.
Gotcha. I see a interesting headline here as I'm looking through some of my headlines. China sparks panic buying after telling households to stockpile food ahead of winter. Okay.
Good. We're supposed to get snow next week, so.
Really?
Yep.
Like real snow or just like the first like dusting?
I guess we'll find out.
Oh, a heavy winter would be an interesting thing to just throw on top of it, huh?
Yeah, timing, right?
Yeah. No. What is it? Harp. That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Everybody wants to know what that is. You can just Google HAARP and go down that rabbit hole and get back to us.
Yeah. See you in a month.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't see much. I did want to get onto the charts, though, with this is – so I've been just looking at different REITs. REITs are real estate stocks, essentially, and they usually compose of like a sector. So yesterday's sector we did was AMT. This one is like stores, basically like necessity stores, like, I don't know, outdoor goods, like small retail necessities is what this one's considered. It's called STOR, store. This is your COVID low here, so we'll just do kind of an analysis on it. This already broke its last major trend line, and it's really just consolidating sideways. So it's actually not a terrible thing for people that are like wondering what's going on. So it just means it's sideways. And this is the weekly chart. So I would just expect for the time being, you're going to just kind of see this bouncing. Well, that's not the right one. I would expect stores to do this.
This is very much a goods and services type. They have physical products. Is that right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, they have store shelf products, right? I see where you're going with that. Yeah. So what are you suggesting?
I mean, this is going to be the most impacted sector of supply chain.
Yeah, I don't know if it includes like grocery stores. I'd have to look that up. But
I mean, that's just food, but I guess I'm talking, products, anything that especially is connected to a computer chip right now. I mean, that's for anyone
it's considered necessity. So I don't know if computer chips would be in there. It'd be more like, I think it said like AutoZone, like those. Yeah.
Those services all use computer chips.
That's true.
So they're the computer chip's just like the scapegoat of the whole issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the trickle effect of like what uses that? Well, pretty much everything.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. No stone is unturned with this scenario. So what you're suggesting then is a breakout. You wouldn't be surprised of a breakout like that through this. This is your major. This is major support here. Debatably, actually, though, as major support would be kind of like right here. You could also look at that and say, so if you break either of these two lines, let me make them a little different color, make it easier on the eyes. If you break either of these lines, that's kind of your major support. So if you have a supply chain hiccup, that really makes itself known here after the elections, and you kind of come through these red lines, that's an issue. That would be. I mean, so this is essentially the free fall territory for like this specific REIT. This would be your free fall territory, getting under these lines. And then I guess you'd have to acknowledge your next support and resistance would probably be here, probably here. I mean, these are the potential areas. These are the lines of defense for the people that don't want the world to end.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it never fully recovered from COVID. Like if you draw a line from pre-COVID, like
up here.
Yeah, you could even go a little bit lower than that, but yeah, it never fully came back, and that I could say may correlate to how I felt about lending on commercial properties. Like when people tell me it's a mixed use with the storefront, I'm like, okay,
right.
I like the residential part of that, but I'm not sold on the commercial part bouncing back here.
Brian Reed, so he's the realtor at the shore, down the shore realtor, that is doing that show. He says, I'm going to get you guys some viewers right now. So Brian's a friend of mine in the area. So I don't really know what that means with Brian. It could literally mean like 100,000 viewers, or it could mean he's just busting on us. I don't know where he's going to go with it, but sure. Whatever sounds good to me, Brian. Yeah, so Brian's actually, I think he just finished filming the other day. I think he might have actually been messaging us from the set of that show while he was filming it, but I think he just finished filming last week. So, yeah, Brian's.
What's the plug, Brian? Let us know what the show is, and we'll plug it for you.
So, yeah, so Brian's sharing some RE groups. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for doing that while you're hanging out. So, Brian's a good realtor at the Jersey Shore. That's his specialty. That's his area. That's his niche. He's made quite a heck of a name. He's carved quite an area for himself. He's in the he says, okay, they're going to air in the next few months. So I'm sure we'll know when it's coming out. I'm sure Brian will, post, or we'll see commercial maybe for it. But obviously everybody in this area has got to watch your hometown hero, right? Yeah, everybody's got to watch. Yeah, Beachfront Bargain Hunt, right, is the name of the show that they're doing. And it makes sense. I mean, Brian's name, and you come up to this area, Wildwood and so forth, is going to be like, his name is the premier name in this area. So the Beachfront Bargain Hunt was like, all right, they're going around the country and they're thinking, where are we going to, we'll probably do one in California, a couple in California, up the coast and the Pacific coast. They just basically surrounded the country and said, all right, we need the big names that move, that do everything around here. Well, you come up here, Brian's there. So that's what you're looking at.
I get the call all the time of, do you know anything about the Jersey Shore? I think I'm going to invest there. I'm like, yeah, you should connect with Brian Reed, right?
That's what I do. Well, when I get down with anything in the Wildwood areas, I say, do you know Brian Reed? It's just, or you should call Brian Reed. Why would you not? So that's typically what we do. So, yeah, so Brian's sending some fun here. So back to the charts here. The store weekly is interesting because you're right. It never really officially feels like the necessity chains have recovered. It just feels like they didn't die. Mm-hmm. Like they're not, they didn't lose yet.
They survived. I think they did survive COVID. I think they can say that, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of them. I mean, we've all driven down our own streets and we see a store that is closed permanently, right? Like not everyone made it.
No, there's actually still a lot of I drive past boarded up, like some of these places though, like you're like, all right, that was on its last limb anyway. Like that, right. How was that place surviving to begin with? But they just got cleaned. They got cleaned out, right? Their clock's cleaned. So you definitely see that right now going on. And then I was like, okay, what's going to come back into that store, right? Like something should be there coming up soon, and nothing. Like there's a lot of strip malls right now that I've driven past that one store's open, one store's not, one store's open, and then just nothing has come in. I don't know what they're. I feel like,
I don't mean to be rude to people who come to me with the business plan and tell me, how great, like now's the time to do. And I'm just like, listen, I know real estate. That's all I know. I hope your business model works well. But in my head, I'm thinking like, is now really the time you want to take that?
I don't see a clear filling capacity for these stores. Like I don't see like okay, yeah, that could really take over. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I don't see a clear exit strategy on these stores other than empty space. Like brick and mortar physically supplied stores right now is not. I don't really see how that's not continuing to die. Do you?
No, I mean that's kind of okay. Like, I still feel like it is on its way up, but at the same time, it's like, listen, the people who go against the grain are the ones who end up making the most in times like this. I just still feel like there's more to it. You can't just say, well, I got to go against the grain and do it, right? There's got to be a bigger vision that I'm just not seeing right now with stores like this.
Well, it's like Brian suggesting here. Do you think those stores will be replaced with more service-based offices? I mean, it has to be. It has to be something other than, physical items. So, but then the question with service-based offices, in my opinion, is like a lot of service-based can operate remotely. You don't need to physically get a space most of the time. So I'm wondering, like, physically what stores like are going to need to be there. Like, the thing I think of is Amazon, for instance, right? They have warehouses, so there's physical items that have to go in those stores. Brian says real estate, real estate, healthcare, tax prep, dentist, shipping. Man, what's that?
Shipping. It would be
shipping.
A winner right
real estate. Yeah, I guess you kind of always have to have a sign up, but so much real estate now is done. I mean, Brian, like, so much of it. How many people actually come into your office versus how many houses do you sell? I mean, you probably have. Maybe you use your office for closings and stuff, but like I don't see like that diehard necessity for stuff to occupy a commercial space at the rate that I think we would need to see now. Like before furniture stores, this, that, and all these other retail stores that could exist, but because there's physical items there. But between like Amazon just taking over the world with having things shipped to your house in one day, never really recovering from COVID. People are still iffy about going out. I mean, they say they want to go out, but then you're like, half the people wear masks, half of them don't. Nobody knows what they're scared of, what they're not. Just Brian says his office is being torn down, been in a dozen times and sold over 300.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but I think what Brian's saying is so 12. Yeah. So, okay. So he's been to his office 12 times and he sold 300 homes. I guarantee you Brian did not meet 300 people in his office, right? So then it's like, what's the necessity of the office itself? Like how much of that can just be done remotely versus of those 300 homes? I mean, Brian's probably going, well, I could do 500 and I could do it from my basement, right? So like, that's where we are right now. Like that's the reality of the world. So the question, Brian says 0 met in the office. Like Brian doesn't, we're all remote. We're all mobile. Like none of us really have to live probably where you actually are. And then that's the other factor of like commercial, right? So then everybody starts recognizing at the same time, hey, I don't really have to live here to do my job. And then, well, if you don't need to live here to do your job and you leave the area, those are less people shopping at the brick and mortar stores to begin with, right? So like everything is just, I don't know what they're going to fill that space with. So you're right. Like a business plan is great. And you're like, well, now's the time to buy. It is, but I don't see I need to see something that's like, all right, this can really fill that space. Like,
it's a void right now. It's just
such a void. And
I think that chart shows it. Honestly, it's kind of just sitting, right? It's just like,
this makes a big doji, right? Like I think you just said, did you just say that?
No, but
so this makes a big doji. A big doji would look like this on a chart. Would look like this on a chart.
Right.
Okay. And that on a chart is the universal sign for indecision. So this is, a doji. This is one big doji on a chart. And that's what indecision really ends up looking like, meaning the market doesn't really know where it wants to go. And when the market doesn't know where it wants to go, it's waiting for something to tell it. Well, the thing that's waiting for it to tell it is potentially this supply chain move or something like that. So it's just sitting in one big indecisive period. And that can go on for a long time though, like a very long time. Like, so there's definitely, charts, unfortunately, when you sometimes when you bottom out in a chart or you hit a big, bear run, which we could be up against, the worst thing, what you want to see is a hard move down and a hard move back up because you ripped the Band-Aid. This is a slow bleed. This is like just dragging and can go on for years. Like these could be potentially monthly bars. And if these are monthly bars,
I think supply chain ends it quicker though. I think supply chain will be the dagger for a lot of these companies that survive. You're like, okay, we're okay. We'll just wait for things to turn around, and then supply chain's just gonna finish them off, I think.
Yeah, I think that could easily happen, and then you're in a position where then what? Right? It's just this. Nobody wants to be in commercial. I mean, like I said, like when you hit a real uh, crash, you need to get to the point where the word that you're looking at that crashed sickens you. Like people are just like, I'm so tired of it. Like for me, I think COVID hit that. I'm just like, I'm so tired of hearing the word COVID. I'm just tired of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Like I'm over it. And a lot of people I think are very over it. So, but it had to hit that level of, first it was the concern and the joking, and then everybody, everybody's together in this. Now it's just being, used as like a political weapon, and it's getting crazy, and it's just like, what are we even doing? So you're sick of it, right? And then it'll go away. But the thing with the commercial space is like, it needs to be beaten up. Unfortunately, I don't think it's as beaten up as it can get. As Brian said, someone opened a shared office space in Wildwood Office by the ocean, and it's killing it. One office is now 8 to 10 office cubicles. So that shared WeWork type outfit is definitely viable in the service-based industry, but you just combined 10 offices into one. So
exactly.
Yeah, so you've shrunk your physical need for space by 10 to 1. Now you might get it's pretty awesome because you're sharpening that knife so finely, and you're concentrating that point of energy so tightly. That office probably has like 10 killers in it, right? And it's just all consolidated into one little spot. It's just this huge massive energy in that one little area. But at the end of the day, you've shrunk the physical space by 10.
Exactly. There's 10 empty offices now that would have been filled. But that business specifically is one that may make sense if you were to approach a lender, be like, yeah, I'm just doing an office rent. Be like, yeah, all right.
Maybe, but I'd still be very particular as to like, all right, who's in there, what's going on. Brian says, so when municipalities allow master plan changes, allow primarily commercial space to be utilized as mixed use or residential. So I think what Brian's asking essentially is like, how easy will they start allowing the zoning to move very much easier, or into areas that they didn't in prior situations? My answer would be, I would think yes in a lot of areas, because they're going to try things. I would think the problem is going to be you're dealing with politics to get there. So exactly. Eventually has to be the answer. Is that the smart play? Very likely it's going to have to be out of necessity. But, with your elections this week, that makes you, again, that's another reason to vote in a certain direction, to make sure that, are things like this moving fluid because if you have a bunch of red tape and a bunch, hey, we're going to table this for the next 6 months in terms of if we're going to look at the zoning thing, and then they can't come to a decision. So we're going to look for another year before we retable it. Next thing you know, it's like 4 years out and they haven't made a decision whether they can put a house or a commercial space in like this little zoning department.
I think it's exactly what's going to happen. I think Brian's point is right. Like, they are going to have to make it easier. But you're dealing with the government. How long, even if they make it easier, it doesn't mean it's actually going to happen faster, right? You got to go through the system regardless. And then how long is that? You're gonna be like, oh, we're not looking at zoning right now, for whatever reason. So I mean, anything in government, I think is safe to say, doesn't happen quickly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. As Brian said, even with local government, friends of government will know and buy first, watch the money and where it's going, buy around it. Yeah, I mean, the opportunity zones were kind of an idea like that. I think that people tried to do that to some extent. Some of those areas worked out, some didn't. I think it's really going to be, though, there's going to have to be something to save. I don't think the commercial industry may never be what it once was. I think we may just have to accept the fact that, because we are a consumer society, we provide service. That's what we provide, but we consume. Whereas once upon a time, we did a lot of producing as well as consuming locally. I think it's just not the case. And I know we've been trying to keep jobs here and keep stuff here. The other thing then becomes like, what skill sets are all these people going to use? Like, what does everybody have? Not everybody is tech savvy in a service-based industry. Like, that is also a consolidation of human power, right? So, I can do now what it would maybe have taken 5 or 10 guys to do 10 years ago, just due to technology. So that's the same thing as like human space and like commercial space being consolidated. And then it's like, well, it's great, Ian, that you can, produce at a high level, but, what about the other 9 people that now, can't? So I don't I don't know where this all goes. Like, do people have to elevate their skills? But there's just people out there that just don't. It just doesn't exist, right? They just don't have. And this isn't like a dog eat dog type comment. It's more of like I have.
Well, we're in a shift, right? I think we're in the midst of a shift that we're seeing right now, and it's not. What you're saying is like I don't think commercial is going to come back. Well, it's like given what we know right now, yeah, I could see what you're saying there, but I think the void, like it's what we don't know yet, right? Like what's going to come out of this still has to present itself. Something will come out of it, whether it's this year, 5 years, or 10 years. Something will come out of it eventually, right?
That's true.
So yeah, it's kind of the argument of people saying machines should not take human jobs, right? Well, then I take the argument, well, it's going to take people to make the machines, right? Like things just get filled. You don't have, it's a fear, a lack of mindset just doesn't kind of exist. I think as humans grow and technology grows, we find a way to fill it and keep moving, right? But yeah, you might have to learn new skill sets, right? Like people who had a skill set of being a typewriter, it kind of gets phased out. And that's the way of life, right? But it will get filled. And that's just the cycle of evolution, I think.
Yeah, you know what? If you really want to look like way down the road, I could see this being like, okay, look, like you have a certain age generation that are going to really struggle to potentially get their skills to where they need to be to keep up with it. So then what you have is, they're not going to be as employable. So then therefore they're moving back in with their kids at like our age, people like us. And then you have this, a boom of like family. Like we've moved so far away from spirituality and family as a society due to like the workforce and technology. Maybe in the end that cycles it back in and it brings family back together and like what's important because, you're spending more time with each other and you're not going to leave your parents out to dry. Right. So then your families now come back together because there was no skill sets that were employable. And then therefore incomes have to then shift towards like a single household again. And you're living multiple generations in a house and, family and things that are important become truly the forefront as opposed to, we've just been a drive, work society now for 50 years, 70 years, something like that. No, probably more than that. Probably like 150 years, just if you go to like the Industrial Revolution and all that kind of stuff. So we went through the industrial and the technological. So anyways, maybe that's what happens like 20 years down the line. Maybe it's a big shift in spirituality and family back to its roots due to technology, which would be kind of crazy, right? The irony in that.
I think that's how it happens, though. I think you're always just in constant flux. And, right now, like I said, we're in the middle of one right now. So yeah. I had the storm, right? So it's too early to say if it's going to go up. Like the doji, I think the doji just tells the story. Indecision. It's waiting to see what happens here. It could last a while. It could, but I do think supply chain is going to move things, at least in the commercial space, and there'll always be a catalyst. That's just how it goes.
Something's got to push it. Okay, so I think we will pick up tomorrow. Maybe I'll do another REIT tomorrow. There's a bunch of them, and we can see if everything is kind of lining up to what we're seeing now, and we'll go from there.
You know what I'd love to see? If you could do like farmland for like cannabis farms. I don't know if that's a specific REIT.
Specifically for cannabis? I don't know. I could look. I mean, I don't know. There's a bunch of them.
I mean, I get those all the time. Say, hey, you guys on cannabis farms? And
yeah, I get those too. I get the farms or for the stores.
Farms. Talking farms.
Farms, interesting. Maybe yeah. I don't know. No, I don't really get. I've had a few farms, but mainly I get like stores.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's an REIT on that, but
which I'm not against those. I think those are good. But honestly, you know what's going to happen there? Amazon's going to end up selling it.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. They're going to end up delivering it to your house. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Because they've already declared their pharmacy. They've already declared Amazon Pharmacy.
Great.
So Amazon's going to control all the medication, and considering they're trying to make, they say weed is like a controlled substance, so to say, it'll just be shipped to your house, which I'm going to be a participant in. I'm not. How would you not have it shipped to your house? You know what I mean? It's hard as an Amazon. When Amazon's there, it is like impossible to fight.
I mean, it's great while they're good, but the day they decide to be like, yeah, we're gonna charge you, like everybody works for us now, and there's nothing we can do about it. You know, like we're giving them a lot of power. We're giving them a lot of power.
We really are, and it's really hard to fight because they
So
know how to
convenient.
appeal to our laziness very well. They figured out how to do it perfectly.
You ever see Wally? The movie Wally?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I feel like they all live on the Amazon ship.
Yeah. And then like they like shake their head and like wake up and they're just like in that seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not far from that that position constantly anyway, in this seat anyway, where you're just like your head's back and your mouth is just open and you have no idea where
I just needed to move me up and down the stairs and around the house.
Yeah, I just need to float. I just need anti-gravity, but I'm sure Bezos is on the. Well, Elon Musk is probably right there with that anyway, so they'll sell it to Bezos and then.
Right.
Perfect.
Great.
All right, good. We got that handled. Yeah. So we will be back tomorrow.
Sounds good. Take care.